How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Vampiress Carmilla, the 2023 annual collector's edition. And this is something pretty cool. This is a collection of some of the best stories from the first 4 issues of Vampiress Carmilla, as well as a all-new story featuring Carmilla herself. This is $9.95, so once again maintaining the magazine's price of basically $1 a story. And if you guys missed any of the cool stories from the first few issues, this is a great place to pick them up and see some of those stories from back then. If you guys are unfamiliar with the magazine, Carmilla is made by the same people who made The Creeps, which is now Shudder, and it's classically styled black and white anthology horror stories. And this front cover, which I really do love, you have Vampiress Carmilla herself. She's the horror host, and this really fun giant skull behind her. So, you know, as much as I like when they reuse the old paintings for their cover art, I really do love to see, you know, original pictures of Carmilla, just like the very first issue, you know. So I really do love this painting on the cover. And we can also see on the side it's a little thicker. This is usually a staple on the spine, but here we do have the letters on the side as well. And if we go ahead and open it up, we see that the front we have a special message from Carmilla, and on the page across from that we get the table of contents. So 2023 annual, and the contents are these 10 stories. This one is the original story, the Gravest Show on Earth, and then we get The Curse of the Sultan's Gems from number 1, Delivered, Sealed, and Confined from number 4, Land Snakes Alive, also from 1, Dark Web from number 2, That Time of the Month from number 4, First Vampire from number 5. Okay, I thought it was the first issue, the first 4 issues, but apparently there is one from number 5. Life Eater from number 3, Haunt-A-Rama from number 2, and Slay It Again Van from number 3. So a good selection, a couple from each issue. And overall, I thought it was really fun to go back and reread through these old stories. You know, I've covered all these issues before on my channel, so I had seen them before, but there's always, you know, those little bits you forget, so it's worth going back and rereading them. Personally, what I would love to see is eventually getting a big omnibus. Remember how they used to have for comics these big newsprint books that would just collect everything? I would love to eventually get a Carmilla and Shudder omnibuses. Those would be pretty fun. I don't know what the plans are, though. But anyway, this is a fun way to go back and reread them. And, of course, that original tale. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the stories. All that being said, I'm not going to be going into any major spoilers. I do want to give you a taste of each story and make sure you know what this book's about, but no major spoilers. And let's go ahead and dive right in to that first story, which is the original story for this book. And let me flip to it. We open up with Vampiress Carmilla getting her hair done by a zombie, but as you can see, she's not in the mirror there, when she's warned that the villagers are attacking the castle, as villagers are wont to do in a horror story. So Carmilla and a bunch of the creatures run through the underground catacombs, and a band of them hop in Vampiress Carmilla's hearse, which also has her casket in it, and speed away. They speed away, and a few miles down the road, they find a failing carnival. The carnival owner's a drunk who's abusive to his brother, and as well as pretty much everyone else there. And Carmilla says, hey, we can help out your failing circus if you give us money and a place to stay. And of course, everyone just believes it's some sort of an illusion, but they still really do like the show. But of course, with an evil carnival owner, not everything's gonna be so easy. overall, it's a pretty fun story, and I do have to say I really love incorporating the horror host into the stories, and I really love to see more with Carmilla. Now, that being said, this story, without doing any major spoilers, it doesn't reset everything back to 100%, so I'm kind of curious, are we gonna, in the next annual, are we gonna get a little more of Carmilla's adventures outside the castle? I could totally go for more Carmilla-centered stories. She's a fun character. This next one, I can really only show you one page of because of YouTube. The Cursed Sultan's Gems. And this is about a sultan who inherits his father's fortune. Actually, his father had a heart attack because of Carmilla, so once again, she's in the story, and he goes, I want all these cool things, but I need more money for them, and he finds that a lot of the women in his harem have gold that they've been given over the years, but he can't legally take it, so he's going to drown all the women in his harem, start over, but that is going to cause some political unrest. So I do love the new setting and the new time period for this story. A classic tale of, political backstabbing and greed, So a cool classic story, yet at the same time, relatively new. And I thought it was pretty fun, and plus, always love the addition of Carmilla herself. By the way, these ones that we've seen before, I'm going to go through them a little more quickly than normal because I've talked about them once already. Up next, we see a group of vampire hunters chasing this vampire to her coffin, and she's got 3 holes so she can get in and out easier as mist, and they kill her, and the story is called Delivered, Sealed, and Confined. However, one day, as a businessman is walking by in the present day, lightning strikes the coffin, and he sees the vampire inside and decides, hey, this is, what is this? It's like a vampire. What if I pull out the stake? Which, of course, causes her to come back to life, and she decides to go shopping for a brand new coffin. A pretty cool story, seeing a vampire kind of get set up in modern day. I could have really, read this story for a lot longer if it had more pages, but of course, this is one of those setting up my evil plan, but mind all the pieces or something could go wrong type of stories. But it is really fun to see her get a brand new coffin, see her set up in the new castle, and have this businessman be her servant, So another classic vampire wakes up in the modern era stories, and it was pretty fun. It's one that I definitely did remember when looking back through all these. Anyway, this next story, find the title page, Land Snakes Alive, and this is about 2 guys who get lost in the woods, and they find this beautiful woman living alone in a abandoned-looking farmhouse, and she has these big snakes as well as several pigs outside, and her name is Sissy. But of course, as they sit down to dinner with her, something's going to be up. What's with her and her snakes? What's with all these pigs? And why is a beautiful woman living all alone out in the middle of nowhere? Well, it's a horror story. It's going to turn into something spooky, and actually quite a different revelation than what you might think it would be. It is a creature that you have seen before, but really reinterpreted in a fun, different way. Up next, Dark Web. And this story, you get this guy, he's a criminal, but he sees some other criminals going after this beautiful woman, and they try to rob her, but the box she was holding actually has rats in it for some reason. Anyway, the guy starts to talk to the beautiful woman, and seems to be hitting it off. He saved her from a robbery, after all. And after dinner, they talk about what she likes, and she's big into spiders, and she actually has a whole shop full of spider memorabilia and a closed door that she says she keeps her real treasure behind. A good locked door mystery there. But anyway, he of course strikes out with the girl and decides to come back later to rob the place and see what's behind that creepy door. And this is one of those stories with a really fun revelation, you know? A really cool character where you're not 100% sure what she's up to. She's got her mysterious shop, and the end's a really fun bit too. Up next, That Time of the Month, and this is about a boxer who's not doing too well. She goes out one day and is attacked by a werewolf, and even though she has to spend a little bit of time in the hospital, she actually, after the werewolf attack, feels significantly stronger and feels like she can tackle anything, but of course does have the side effect of being a werewolf. But I do like the idea of mixing classic horror monsters with, with sports and stuff. So a cool, fun sports story, and we get to see her, being not that great a wrestler, but she keeps a lot of the strength even when she is human. But, that werewolf price. And again, another really fun story that if we had more pages, I could totally read a lot more of it. The next one, First Vampire, and this you get the vice president walking in on the president in a very compromising situation. I don't want to describe it because then YouTube might get mad at me, but the vice president says, "Hey, what's going on here? Why would you be doing something like this?" And he says, "Well, I'll tell you the story, but will you believe me? Or will you believe the President of the United States has lost his mind?" And going into the story here, it's pretty fun. He's won in a landslide, everybody loves him, and he has a wife from, I believe it's Romania. She feels homesick, they go home, and at a party, she meets a mysterious figure that takes her into the moonlight. But of course, that wasn't just a mysterious figure. The wife goes missing, they don't know what's up, they think the bites may have been from an animal, but then after a little bit, she reappears. And I don't want to go too far into the story after that, but it's a vampire story with the president. It's not as goofy as that concept makes it sound, and it does have a really cool ending, one of those where it ends on just this wild, crazy, and out of nowhere points, where you're like, okay, that's one image to leave things on, so that's pretty cool. After that, we get the story Life Eater, and we see some archaeologists in modern day have uncovered this sealed tomb of this lady who was a dancer for the pharaoh. And they go, okay, why was she sealed up in this tomb? And you get to find out about her history and how she was kidnapped and forced to be with the pharaoh. But she realizes that if she gets old, she may not have the favor of the pharaoh anymore. So she appeals to the god Set and becomes a life eater who is going to drain the life out of people. Overall, a pretty fun story there. Again, another mummy story, but told in a different way. After that, we have the story Hauntorama. And in Hauntorama, we see this guy, he's dating a girl, and he takes her into the dark ride. She's scared, but he says, oh, it's all just robots. And then, of course, as soon as they go in, out to lunch, come back later. And after that, he says, hey, if these monsters spook you, let's get out and take a closer look. But they feel a little bit too lifelike, and they eventually meet the creator who's made these monsters. Gotta love a good dark ride story, a good carnival story, and, the classic, why do these monsters look so realistic? And this one actually does have, other than just why do the monsters look realistic, there is a fun additional twist at the end where the story goes in a fun and different direction. I really do like that one. And then we have Slay It Again Van, which I think this is actually the last story in here at the end again already. But we see Van Helsing, and he's going around the world hunting vampires, and he's finally found the last one, and he's going to kill her with a stake through the heart. Now, he goes on to do a lecture after he's killed all the vampires, and he says that vampires are very OCD, and, you can surround them with pebbles, and they'll have to count all the pebbles. Now, he said because of the vampire's OCD, he dug through Dracula's library, and found all the vampires he had turned, so a complete list of Dracula-made vampires, so he knew how many to hunt down. But of course, there's an earthquake in San Francisco, and that last vampire he killed is going to come back to life when the stake falls out and try to get her revenge on Van Helsing. I do really love how this story picks up right where the book left off. A really fun vampire story, a really fun revenge story, and getting to see old Van Helsing going around on a book tour and living his post-vampire hunting life. That was pretty fun, and I overall really did love that story as well. Really cool to see the remnants of Dracula's reign come back once again. There's a really cool picture of a withered old vampire. But I think that's the last one. Yeah. So overall, 10 stories. They're all really good. I really like them all. This is sort of a best of thing, and they really did pick a bunch of good stories. I mean, that being said, we're talking about the first 5 issues of Carmilla. There's a bunch of other stories they don't have in here as well, so if you can track down the original magazines, I definitely would. But if you want to get your hands on some of the older Carmilla stories, this is 10 all at once, plus a new story featuring Carmilla herself. These are all great. I really do love them, and also a really fun display piece with this nice cover. So if you guys want to see the best of a magazine, if you haven't picked this magazine up yet, and you want kind of a sampling of the best of the stories, this is a really good way to do it. I really did like it. I'm a big fan of this magazine, and it was really fun to go back and read the stories. So anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist at the bottom. This should be my Creeps/Carmilla/Shudder playlist, where if you want to see me talk about a whole bunch more of these magazines, I've covered a lot so far. So if you want to see me talk about more, you can find those there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.